Good afternoon, everyone. We will call the end of the year special city council meeting to order for December 26. The agenda says 2011, but it's 2012. Roll call.
Sasso. Here. Nordstrom. Here. Scott. Here. Clayton. Here. Peterson. Doyle. Lewis. Yep. Roberts. Here. Wright. Here. Lorente. Here. We have quorum.
And everyone, please rise for invocation by Jerry Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Today is the Feast of St. Stephen, a distinguished gentleman to the right's feast day, by the way. Today, take a few moments to think about an area of your life that causes you stress. Tell the Lord that you can't face it on your own and ask Him to give you what you need to move forward. You may feel His peace right away, or it might come later in the day, but it will come. Keep asking the Lord for more of His Spirit, and He will guide you through every challenge. Amen.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gee, that wasn't so bad. That was good.
We have three items on the agenda today. The first is second reading of ordinance number 5873, supplemental appropriation number 5 for 2012. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Lewis and a second by Lorente. Any discussion? And we'll go to Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to pass this today, but I just wanted to clarify a couple items. At the last time that we had the first reading on this, I posed the question to make sure that the wage adjustments that are being handled in the supplemental appropriation number 5 for 2012 are accounted for in 2013 budget. And the answer was yes. Just wanted to confirm that, Pauline.
That is correct. Anything that was added in February of 2012 has already been included in the 2013 budget. I will point out there may be an adjustment in 2013 depending where our sales tax comes in at. What was budgeted for July 1 of 2013 was a 1.25% increase, but if our sales tax is above 5.5% increase over 2011, it would actually be a 2.5% increase. So it's depending on where the sales tax comes in, it may be possible that we have an adjustment in 2013 as well.
Okay, because that was one of the questions, because there were 3 points that I was going to bring up, is the wage adjustments for 2012 were predicted for the 2013 budget. As you just said, if the sales tax comes in greater than, at the end of 2012, 5.5%, there will actually be a wage adjustment increase of 2.5%, so we may see a supplemental appropriation of 1%.
1.25%.
1.25%.
As of July 1, so it would be for a half a year.
And then also, I know that we're currently in negotiations for wage adjustments. Was that included in the 2013, or will we may see a supplemental appropriation dependent on the outcome of those contract negotiations?
Contract negotiations are actually for years starting in 2014.
Okay.
So that won't, we're trying very hard to have everything done with those negotiations in January of 2013. So that way when we go into the budget for 2014, we'll already know where we're going to be.
All right, thank you. And then also just wanted to point out that out of the undesignated cash of this supplemental appropriation number 5 for the general fund, it's $940,000, I'm rounding, $940,000. But out of that undesignated cash, 73% of this is attributed to wages and benefits. So did we not know that this was, I know that part of the issue is that we wanted to have less supplemental appropriations in the year 2012. So this is our 5th and final one. But in preceding years, there may have been more, but overall, we had less money that was supplementally appropriated. So was this a good thing, in your opinion, to wait until the end of the year to do all of these wage adjustments? They didn't occur where we could have had a supplemental appropriation and brought this to the taxpayers' attention before now?
Quite honestly, when we brought forward the adjustments in wages in February, it was brought to the council's attention at that time that we would have to do supplemental appropriations because the February adjustments were not budgeted at all. That being said, $350,000 is actually transferred from the health insurance fund to help alleviate some of those additional costs. The reason why it was we waited until the year-end adjustment is throughout the year, various departments had vacancies, and so we only supplemented what was absolutely necessary. If we would have supplemented in the middle of the year, it would have been much larger than what you see today.
All right. So it would have been larger than the, and I'm coming up with a rough number because it may not be exact, but roughly about $685,000 of this undesignated cash for this supplemental appropriation is going to wages and benefits.
Correct.
And it would have been higher if we hadn't waited till now?
Right, because some departments were not giving an adjustment at all, or a supplemental appropriation at all for wages, because they had enough in their budget already between vacancies and what was budgeted to cover the additional increases in February. But the adjustments that you see before you are for those departments that did not have the money in their line items already.
Okay. And then just for the taxpayers' benefit, for clarification, there was an increase in the proposed budget for 2013 of $2.2 million for wages and benefits. So it's roughly a 6.6% increase. So hopefully it does account for the wage adjustments for 2012, as well as hopefully maybe even all the 2.5% adjustment for wages in July coming up, as well as the negotiated wages of anything else that comes up, new hires or that type of stuff.
If I might add, in 2013, if you recall also, we actually put the fire and police salaries to where they should be if they were going to be fully staffed throughout the year. In 2012's budget, those were cut drastically based on hiring schedules. So that also is included in some of that 6.6% increase in the salaries and benefits.
And then also, thank you. And then also just to point out, you did a wonderful job, by the way, of putting out a 5-year. But it really does look like the city tried to cut back on expenses, just as you were just saying. In 2011, it looks like the original budget was around $42.2 million. In the preceding years, it kind of averaged right around the 45. And the final budgets after supplemental appropriations were right around the $48 million mark. In 2011, it was budgeted at $42.2 million, and we ended about $44 million after supplemental appropriations. This year, we started at 42. I'm pretty sure trying to keep in line with last year's or the 2011 budget, but we've actually supplementally appropriated $6 million over the last year. And out of that $6 million in the general fund, I just want to make sure that they were for one time and not recurring expenses. The reason I was talking about the wages, once you make a wage adjustment, it is reoccurring. You don't really back up on wages for people. So that accounts for roughly about $1 million, unless there were previous supplemental appropriations that dealt with wages as well.
I don't believe any of the previous ones dealt with wages, as that would be ongoing. Unless I pulled out each individual supplemental appropriation, I couldn't tell you exactly, though.
I think it might be good if we could have an explanation on the $6 million to know what we spend an additional $5 million on and to make sure it was one-time appropriations. Or if they're recurring, we could see a $6 million increase in the $5 million increase in the 2013 budget if it was recurring expenses that we incurred. So, Mayor, I guess I don't know if we want to make an item or get some research done, or.
Let me try to address this. And I appreciate the questions, Amanda. At the end of each of the supplementals, including the one that's attached to the agenda today, there's a couple of pages of explanations that should help shed light on it. Regarding the discussion in February, which you weren't present for, but that there was a discussion in February about the fact that there would need to be a supplemental appropriation. We're very upfront about the fact that that wasn't going to be budgeted as part of 2012. It is, however, included in 2013. And as Pauline said, one of the reasons that you're seeing such a large increase, and first of all, I want to make sure people understand our employees are not getting a 6.6% increase next year in wages. The percentage increase that is being referred to is the amount that is being appropriated for wages to fairly reflect what is going to be paid out. It used to be, for example, in fire and police, that there was this little accounting game that was played, nothing against the finance, but it was something that was done previously by previous administrations to try to hold down the costs. But the reality is that the costs are there, and they're going to rather, and I know what's frustrating for you and for me is to have unnecessary supplemental appropriations. So I think it's unnecessary to have to supplement for fire and police and other departments' wages. We should be upfront about it and just put it in the budget and be done with it, and that's what's being done for 2013. And so that's partly what you're seeing, Amanda, is for this last supplemental in 2012 is you're seeing an increase because of of what was done in February with the step changes and adjustments, so we could be more competitive, and also an additional part of that and a significant portion of that is the normal appropriations that were taking place because of the way the budgeting was done previously, and we're now getting away from that with our new budgeting for outcomes process.
So do we know what the other 5 million, I mean, that's the wage piece, and I understand
Well,
that, I think, but,
I tell you what, if you take a look at what's been attached, and if those explanations aren't clear, if you want to add that to a legal and finance agenda, we can make, or set up a meeting with Pauline. We'll make sure your questions are answered.
If I might,
Pauline?
in the second supplement of this year, 2.1 million was for transit vehicles, so that is a one-time expense, mostly paid out of grant funding. The first appropriation, supplemental appropriation every year is going to be any items that needed to be carried over depending on, basically it's what was already started in like 2012 will get carried over to 2013. That was about $500,000 this year. Also, one of the first supplements that you'll see, first or second supplement, will be for the county library and also the library board funds. Those always come after the fact, but we have not budgeted for their revenues in the original budget. So when I look at the second appropriation, the total on those two alone is over $500,000. And so those are operational costs that you'll see every year, but they have separate funding sources that aren't already accounted for. So it's not like we're adding expenses without the revenues. That's another 2.6 million.
Yep,
Sorry, that's what I've looked at so far.
okay. And I would like to know, because that still leaves $1 million on that second supplemental appropriation, that is still just to find out if it's one time or if it's recurring. So I guess we will just add an item to the legal and finance for an update on the items that were supplementally appropriated for 2012, and just so that we know whether they were recurring or if they were one-time expenditures.
Very good.
And then, sorry, and then just one other thing I wanted to point out, on item number 50 in the last pages of that, I just think the taxpayers should know that there was $68,400 that was allocated or part of the supplemental appropriation that was paid out for a settlement. And Joel, which I know, unfortunately, there's been a couple. Which settlement was this one?
There was, and I don't know that that amount covers that. That was my salary line appropriation supplement, and there was a payment that was directed by Travelers, essentially, to that was made to Jason Green.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Any further discussions or questions? What did Jerry write?
Thank you, Mayor. I just saw the extra money we spent at the cemetery, and I know we asked for, we're going to increase personnel and some other procedures, and now's not the time, but I'd request that maybe Jeff comes back in January, February to let us know how we're doing to improve our records keeping of surveying and all that, and costs. That's it. Thank you.
Very good. Any further discussions on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is to approve a contract with Heartland Outdoors, Inc., doing business as Trail Arts, for trail alignment and construction in the Skyline Wilderness area in the amount of $29,306. And we have a motion by Lewis and a second by Roberts to approve, and we'll go to Jeff Biegler our Parks and Recreation Director for a brief discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The agreement that we're requesting authority for today from you is actually in the amount of $24,447.50. The amounts listed on the agenda of 29,306 is actually for this agreement and two previous agreements with the same company for some trail marking and alignment work.
Very good. Amanda Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
I understand that there was a glitch in coming to council for approval, and the total sum of all three of these is what's bringing you before council today.
That is correct.
Mistakes happen. So my main question to you is because if we expect our taxpayers and our citizens to follow the rules in which we all agree to live by in Rapid City, our city departments should follow the rules as well. So my question to you is simply, what have you put in place to kind of catch this so that you know to come before council before you exceed the amount going forward?
This was something that staff did not catch, obviously, but has since become very well aware of the process and the procedure, and this will not occur again. We will check and double check before we to get to this point, so that we're not coming back.
Thank you, Jeff, and I just wanted to make sure you had something in place going forward, and I do appreciate everything you and your entire department does. So the main thing is not to repeat the mistake again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we'll go to Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In Jeff's defense, he did not get complete information when asked the question. So he did not realize that the aggregate was also taken into account. He was told that it was individual contracts. So in his defense, they followed the directions that were given.
Any further discussion? The motion is to approve. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill list. Pauline.
Thank you, Mayor. Total bill list for today is $1,458,808.18.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Happy New Year.